Most of us like to think that what goes on inside our own heads is, well, our business. That our thoughts are private, they're fleeting, and ultimately they don't really matter to the outside world. But what if that's not true at all? What if every single thought you have is a real, tangible thing with a life of its own? That's the wild idea we're jumping into today.
So let me ask you that again. Just really think about it for a second. Are your thoughts truly private? Because according to some really profound esoteric teachings, the answer is a hard no. Our minds aren't these sealed-off containers. Nope. They're powerful generators, constantly creating and shaping the unseen world all around us, whether we realize it or not.
And this isn't some new age idea. This is a foundational concept from theosophical literature. It suggests that our thoughts don't just, poof and disappear. They actually pass into an inner world. They mix with energy, and they become these active entities. We are literally, just like the quote says, peopling our personal space with the creations of our own minds.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dive into the basic concept that thoughts are real things. Then, and this is cool, we'll look at what they might actually look like. From there, we'll scale it up to see what happens when thoughts clump together into a kind of group mind, how all this can be directed through what we call magic, and finally, the really crucial ethical line that separates using this power for good or for ill. Okay, first up, thoughts are real things. And I want to be clear, this is not a metaphor. The teaching here is that we have this incredible, and for most of us, totally unconscious, power. Every single moment, we are creating something real.
So here's the term you need to know, a thought form. It's not just a passing idea, it's an actual entity. And get this, its strength and how long it lasts depends entirely on the intensity of the original thought. So a vague, fleeting little idea, that makes a weak thought form. But a powerful, focused, intense emotion, well, that creates something way, way more potent.
And this is how they work in our daily lives. See, these thought forms don't just float off into space. They cluster around us, and they create our personal atmosphere, our aura. This is exactly why you can sometimes just get a feeling about a person, right? Without them even saying a word. Empaths or other really sensitive people are basically just picking up on the quality of this thought world that a person has built around themselves.
Now, this is where it gets really, really fascinating for me. If these things are real, what do they look like? Well, according to clairvoyant investigations into the astral realm, they actually have distinct shapes and forms.
What's just wild here is how specific these shapes are. It's not random. I mean, look at selfish ambition. It's described as having hooks that literally curve back towards the person who created it. Explosive anger is like a sharp, piercing shard. But then you look at something like peace and protection, and it's described as a form with wings, sent out to help somebody else. The intention directly sculpts the creation. It's incredible.
So what this all means is that our inner state has a literal outer geometry. The clarity of our intention, the emotion that's fueling it, the very nature of the thought itself, all of that determines the structure and therefore the effect of the thought form we're releasing out into the world. Okay, so we've got a handle on individual thought forms. But what happens when lots and lots of people share the same thought, the same belief, the same emotion, over and over and over again? Well, they combine. And this massive collective entity has a name. It's called an egregore. Think of it like a psychic atmosphere or a group mind, created by the combined mental and emotional energy of tons of individuals. It's a really powerful concept that explains a lot about why groups behave the way they do.
And the process for how one is born, it actually makes a ton of sense. It starts with those individual thought forms we just talked about. Then, because like attracts like on these inner planes, all those similar thoughts find each other, they merge together, and they grow into this larger collective being, an egregore.
And trust me, this is not just some abstract, far-out idea. We interact with egregores all the time. Your family has one, your city has one. Every single nation has a powerful national egregore. Even a symbolic figure like Santa Claus, who is kept alive by the collective thought and emotion of millions of people, he's considered an egregore. And this is where its power really lies. An egregore creates a mental and emotional climate, kind of like a psychic weather system. It acts like a filter that subtly colors the perceptions and reinforces the shared attitudes of everyone inside that group. And a lot of the time, people don't even realize they're being influenced.
So, if these forces exist, can they be used intentionally, on purpose?
Well, yes. And this is where we get into the concept of magic. And we're not talking about fantasy spells and wands, but something much more fundamental, the conscious, deliberate directing of these psychic energies.
In this context, magic is simply the application of thought power. That's it. And the single most important factor, the one thing that determines everything about it, is the motive. The intention behind the act is what defines its moral character. Period.
And this quote from H.P. Blavatsky herself draws the line as clearly as you possibly can. It's not about the rituals or the special words. It's about selfishness versus selflessness. Using these powers for your own personal gain is one path. Using them for the good of others is the complete opposite path.
And that brings us to our final section, the Great Ethical Divide. This is all about understanding the profound difference between using this incredible power to serve and uplift versus using it to dominate and control. This chart just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got white magic. The motive is selfless. The goal is to heal and protect. On the other side, you've got black magic. The motive is purely selfish, aligned with the ego's desire to get what it wants, to control, to dominate. The motive is everything.
And here's where this philosophy really challenges a lot of modern ideas. Think about some popular manifestation practices, or using the law of attraction to get a new car or promotion. According to this philosophy, if the goal is purely selfish material gain, that would actually fall under the definition of black magic. It really forces us to look hard at our own intentions.
And of course, each path comes with consequences. It's a universe of cause and effect, right? The path of white magic aligns you with higher, benevolent forces and builds positive karma. But the path of black magic, it binds you to the very forces you're trying to control, and it creates a heavy karmic debt.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's pretty simple, actually. We all have this immense, unseen power at our disposal. The first step is just becoming aware of it. And the second, much more important step is taking ethical responsibility for how we use it, every single day with every single thought.
So, in the end, it all comes back to you. The stream of your consciousness isn't just a passive observer, it is an active, creative force. Right now, it is building worlds, both inside you and all around you. So the only real question left to ask is this: what kind of world are you building?